Anyway, here's what we do here. We read some philosophy and try to explain it. This is out of the echo chambers and into the public sphere, a Habermasian social epistemological critique by Joshua Jose R. Ocon. This is out of Ateneo de Manila University. So, and this is 2025 stuff. And this is in the Social Epistemology Review and Reply Collective. Ivan says, I definitely could have been way better off if I joined the corporate rat race. Yeah, and that's the issue. Look after you. You hate it, move to someplace smaller. Maddie, there won't be any place smaller than what I'm looking at buying right now. The difference is that I'm in suburbia now. I'll be in the Bronx proper with better transportation. And like being able to get around and do stuff more easily is kind of what I'm looking, hopefully, to do. This whole social epistemology thing is new, right, as a field in the academy? Yeah, so there's always been social epistemology. For it to get the amount of attention that it's gotten is a recent phenomena, but they're starting to realize that traditional epistemology is boring and stupid. Well, the stupid is my part. I don't like what they did in traditional epistemology. Is not very interesting at the moment, and all the cool stuff is happening in social epistemology, and it is actually, I quite like it. I mean, I have never really focused on social epistemology, but like this is where a lot of cool stuff is happening. And so the Journal for Epistemology, Episteme, I think now has the subtitle, A Journal of Social Epistemology. So they're leaving the traditional epistemologies to sort of like the generalist journals, and they're trying to be more social and have like the cool stuff over there. And I think that's a good idea, actually. Yeah, Maddie. I'm buying. I might buy something. So, yeah. But don't worry. If I was renting, it would be just as bad because I can't afford to rent a big place either. Yeah. Well, we'll see, Maddie. We will see. I went to the open house this morning and I sent them an email saying, send me all the forms and I'll take a look at them. So, yeah. On bubbles and chambers, but that's just it. Yeah, we'll see. Good news. It can be observed that discussions in forums of every kind have recently proliferated everywhere, prevalently on the internet and specifically through social media. Maddie says, if you hate owning it, you can sell and go back to renting. Yeah, so we will see. We will see. But like I was saying earlier, the neighborhood is not a desirable neighborhood, but I was over there today and it ain't that bad. And there's apparently some bad areas, but I am not in the bad areas over there. So it's like, it wouldn't be that bad. So, okay, the bad news. The tendency to be more excluding on account of views and beliefs has intensified all the more. This premise takes into account how much of what people give credence to is obtained online, and how the same has become saturated with false information. You gotta start somewhere. Exactly, Manny. It's like, that's the thing. And I was talking to my mom. She's like, do it. I'm like, this is a big fucking thing. She's like, do it. I'm like, okay, Mom. It's like, they just want me to get up and do stuff. I've been in this room for a long fucking time. It's been since the start of the pandemic, streaming from here. Yep. The rapidly worsening phenomena of fake news, now magnified by the advancement of AI technologies that create misleading accounts, contributes to the divisiveness already present in social media. Extra mug. For instance, to engage in a social media post with which one can agree is to bring about tides of posts presenting others similar to it, if only to keep one attentive to the task of social media surfing. Yeah, and this is a fair thing. The goal of social media is to keep you on the social media. It's engagement, not necessarily good engagement or productive engagement. The point of modern IT technology is to keep you engaged with it so that they can, give you advertisements and sell you shit. So the way you engage with it is a problem. Do it. Yeah. Having to work more is a big negative though. Yeah, absolutely, Raw. It's like, will I have the energy to stream as much? Will I be able to write what I want to write if I'm working too much? It's like, I don't know. And I like dicking around. I just do. I don't like working, frankly. If someone would pay me for the philosophy, I'd do it, but no one's paying me for philosophy. In any case, the These interconnected phenomena lead to the reconsideration of what C.T. Wynne refers to as epistemic bubbles and echo chambers, interrelated yet distinct from in terms of how they began and how they operate. And this is our perennial favorite. He writes on video games and interactions and fun and theories of... No, he doesn't write on fun. He writes on... Yeah, he does write on theories of fun. And our good buddy Barude is reading a book by C.T. Nguyen right now. So it's like, yeah. Philosophy for fun and profit. Yeah, the profit bit is the hard part there, though. Philosophy can be fun. Burbane's algorithm keeps showing you stuff you agree with, which... Let's shout out. Barude. Which you hold. Digital yes manism. Yeah, and that's also even worse now with the AIs. Because they say, oh yeah, that's exactly right. Let me expand upon your good points. It's very yes manning. That's exactly right. Our buddy Barude, he's another philosopher. He's writing his PhD. He's finishing it up at the moment. But he's actually looking into some of this stuff right here, right now on his stream. So hey, hang out over there if you will. Okay. By nature, both are social since they concern the members of society and at the same time epistemic since they have something to do with how these same members cling to beliefs that form part of their noetic structure. I need to write a book and go on tour. Ivan. I just sent the paper out. I was talking about it before you got here, and I literally just rewrote this paper. And what I did was I dumbed it down in some sense. It's a more streamlined, simplified version of the same argument from before, but it's like simplified. And it's like I really think this is one of the better things I've written, but it's like it'd have to get like popular. How is philosophy going to get popular? Yeah. So yeah, exactly, Maddie. Barude. Okay, well, Nguyen's main intent is to distinguish them and demonstrate echo chambers as more epistemically and socially deplorable. One cannot but notice how they are more or less similarly situated within the landscape of various sources of information, the media in general, and specifically the internet and its social media networks. Yeah, and this is right. Like, this is where social networks live, is in modern media. Oh, I thought he was here? No. Well, he might be. I don't check the lurk list. If you're lurking, you don't want me to know. I won't know you're there. I never look. And please don't call anyone out a lurk. I know we've got people in here that, don't want to talk. And that's fine. But yeah, I was just shouting him out because he's reading up on one of Nguyen's books. Yeah. Or the academic version of going to... Yeah, I sent my paper out to the Diagrams conference. I hope they ask me back. I really do. It's a good excuse to go to Europe. So, yeah. Ivan, Shane, me, and Aris book tour. Yeah. I mean, absolutely. If I get this fucking place in the Bronx, I'll be telling people, come visit. You can sleep on my couch. I mean, it's a 4th floor walk up, but you can sleep on my couch. Simply put, to deal with either epistemic bubbles or echo chambers or both is to fundamentally come to terms with the means and circumstances of communication, discussion, and knowledge propagation. In a special way, and as already mentioned, their locus is predominantly the internet with all its trappings and intricacies, but a more fundamental realm provides the initial circumstance wherein these phenomena can take place. Someone's missing beyond Barude? Ooh. Special guest. Luminous Bloom and Barude, yeah. I've never done an international conference. I really should do that. Dude, you are in the north. You are very close to Canada. Canada counts as international. There are plenty of opportunities to go, to get yourself to Canada. Then you can be like, I've done international conferences. Yeah. I love conferences. Yeah, I had a good time when I was at the conference 2 years ago on Diagrams, and I sent something back to them, and I really hope I get in. I advise you to write a book. I did. I'll have a book table at a conference in August. Awesome, Ivan. Yeah, well, the topic you were writing on was going to be more interesting in book form. That's why. I've been told the same thing in the past, too, that some of my topics need a longer exposition. And there is an argument for that. So you're not wrong. You're right in some sense. Comic-Cons and conventions, yeah. Then you just have to wait for the money to roll in. Yeah, that's the do all this work, ... profit. The ... is kind of hard, yeah. True Canada. Yeah, and you're not that far from Toronto, Luminance. You could get to Toronto easy. Go look up all the things they're doing in Toronto. Maybe you could find something to do there. It's I went to the public philosophy conference in McMaster University in Hamilton. So I was up there when I saw you. You know this. But like that was a good excuse to go to Canada in like the fall in New York and drive through Upper New York State. It's very pretty. So it's like yeah. Then a miracle occurs. Yeah, exactly. Anyway, continuing. By this, we mean the public sphere, which generally encompasses the social life of all citizens and where an opinion can become a matter of discussion at the communal level. Okay, so where this person is taking the online discussion as described by Nguyen and now saying it depends on the Habermasian concept of public sphere. And I don't think I mentioned this because this will be in the YouTube video, but like Jürgen Habermas died a day or two ago, so we're reading something on Habermas in an honor of Jürgen Habermas. Lots of Twitch friends you can hang out with in Toronto. Got accepted to conference in Calgary a long time ago, but ended up not being able to go. Oh, it stinks. Okay. Conceptually, the notion of the public sphere captures what it means to voice opinions, share information, and create conversations, and while it presumably involves every individual citizen, it remains free from the constraints and control of politics. Yeah, so the public sphere is sort of defined separate from politics, but that doesn't mean it is. I mean, it's conceptually, but yeah. But I don't know if that's practically true. Technically and historically, however, it only pertains to a specific situation in 18th century history wherein it first came into existence alongside the distinction between opinion and opinion publique, which then describes the universal reason of the generality of thinking individuals continuously engaged in open discussion. Okay, so it's still like really this idea of public opinion when you could actually have a form of like newspapers or media of books. That still was a technology-based sort of thing. It wasn't just like, people talking to each other. It was still a mediated time. When I mean mediated, with media. Okay. More contemporary scholars have taken the liberty to appropriate the idea of the public sphere in relation to the internet, which is now seen as its most important encompassing manifestation. In these narratives, the internet is seen as an avenue for almost uninhibited communication, discussion, and sharing of information, which then sets the stage for possibilities of socio-political participation. Yeah, the Enlightenment ideal of a democracy, I see. Yeah. And as an ideal, did it ever really exist? Probably not. But that's the thing. People shit on idealism a lot for good reason, and I'm not an idealist myself, but a lot of times you need something a little bit more idealistic, an ideal, like especially if you're doing science, you understand you can't take into account everything that's going on in nature. You have an idealized model, and then you use that model to discuss stuff. Same thing in philosophy. We're using idealized models of society here, where you can use this idea to describe the world. Nothing else is not very different in terms of the way we're looking at the progression of society, how things are operating with like an idealism here. It's just a simplified model we're using to see what like shakes out. And if something does shake out that's interesting, then we'll discuss. But same thing in physics. Like you say, okay, this worldly phenomena is acting like this mathematics. Is the world the math? No, it is not. Like math is math, world is world. You can't you can go poke stuff in the world. You can't go poke a number. So, yeah. This paper proposes an interpretation of the public sphere that responds to the problem of echo chambers on the internet. Firstly, I situate echo chambers within the internet, specifically in social media, by demonstrating the presence of its essential elements using a specific situation. The 2022 Philippine national elections. I then highlight characteristics that make the internet identifiable with the public sphere. To interpret the internet as a public sphere in this way suggests that the very nature of echo chambers is antithetical to the former as its predominant medium in today's social epistemological landscape. You could poke a number in Sesame Street, yes, but notice that's a fantasy show, Sam. You do know that Sesame Street is a fantasy children's show. Okay? Hey, Globus, what's up? I found my brain. Where was it, Globus? Thank you for finding it. For a subscription price of $5.99 per month, you can access it. Thank you, Globus. You were so helpful. Oh, man, I saw that headline by Sam Altman, and it's just like, God damn it. And there was also some bitching on Reddit today in like the millennial subreddit or whatever, saying that basically all their Gen Z employees do not know how to take initiative. They need sort of like this constant feedback telling them it's okay. And I fear it's like this is part of what they've grown up with, was the computers always giving them positive feedback. And when they don't get that in a business setting, they don't know what to do. And it's like, yeah. But yeah, how you doing, Globus? I hope you're well. Everyone should go also follow our good buddy Globus the Elder. Globus the Elder also, similar to me, spends time explaining complicated stuff, trying to explain what's going on in the world, especially surrounding AI and the bullshit surrounding AI and what's good and what's bad. And so it's like, go hang out over there if you want intelligent discussions on sort of like a more contemporary phenomena. Like, yeah, it's not easy to do, to have intelligent discussions on areas where there is so much crap getting said. So it's like, highly endorse our buddy Globus. Okay, so we're going to be talking here about how to understand the internet, given the sort of like the situations on the internet, and how to give theory and to ground the understanding of what's happening on the internet in a more traditional theory. So yeah. Alrighty. Echo chambers on the internet. Nguyen's exposition primarily relies on insights from the empirical analysis of Jamieson and Capella. So much of the context that she narrates are so much of the context that she narrates are demonstrative of Western context, specifically the mainstream media. Interesting. I don't think Nguyen goes by pronoun she, but maybe this she is referring to Jamieson and Capella. I don't know. Discussions on various public opinion matters are determined by what television networks choose to show and present to the public. Maddie says, my sister and I have been talking to her son about using AI. He's old to know it's being available to use. We keep trying to tell him that it's better for him to actually learn things and not just hit a few buttons. My sister's also in college, so we watched her study and research too. Yeah. And that's the issue, is that it's hard to tell people not to use the easy answer. It's like, well, I could just ask the internet and I get an answer, or I could ask the AI and I get an answer. It's hard to tell people not to do that. I remember it's like the old joke, well, you're never going to have a calculator with you all the time. They used to tell me that when I was in school. Now we have our phones, which do calculations for us easily. And it's like, we do always have a calculator with us. So it's like, how do you actually get people to start to learn to reason? And we're not there yet. We really are not there yet, because the technology is new and we need to adapt to being able to use it and know how to use it in a smart way. But like, yeah, it's hard. And I know people are in schools and universities are raging because the kids are not putting effort in to learn things themselves. Never thought about that. Oh, interesting, Luminance. Yeah. Okay, discussions on various public opinion matters are determined by what television networks choose to show and present to the public. This creates a specific disparity between those who are used to watching one network and those who have no particular preference at all. Consider the apparent divide that separates the patrons of Channel 2 ABS-CBN News and that of Channel 7 GMA News. I mean, this I think is in the Philippine context, like these TV networks. Certain brandings can be associated by supporters with the network they patronize, and implicit in this is the connection that they make between the manner of news reporting and the perspective that they get to receive and eventually accept concerning their beliefs about current events. I also want to make a point. So here in the United States, we have CBS, which was just taken over by someone who's pro-Trump, and they changed the national news. And the people who were on the national news resigned when he started making these changes. So that was John Dickerson and Maurice Dubois. Maurice Dubois was the local CBS News affiliate from New York. So he was my local news guy for years. And the fact they fucked over my local news guy, I will not forgive them for fucking over my man Maurice. Maurice Dubois was good people, is good people, and I'm pissed about that. So, I mean, I've got nothing against Tony at the moment. I don't think it's his fault that the head of the CBS News is a dickhead, but I do not forgive them for fucking over my man Maurice. Sam says, I have a theory that is failing of the professors for not having figured out how to teach kids in a way that makes them actually learn IRL rather than the academic setting we have always relied on. The same kids have deeply learned the mechanics of Pokemon because that's something they care about IRL. Not so simple, Sam. Easier said than done. There's a lot of education theory, not so much money for this. If it was easy to do, it would have been done. Believe me. If it was easier to do, it would have been done. We would have figured it out. It's not easy to do, and that's why it's not getting done, or needs a lot more effort in this area, and maybe we could stay on top of it. But it's like, yeah, the education system and learning stuff, it's not so easy. If it was, we would have done it. Believe me. It's true for all kids. Getting kids to care about stuff is the hard part. Exactly. The one part of like the Nguyen theories that we're actually discussing right here is that video games give easy rewards. You know exactly what to do when you get an easy reward, and you get rewarded for clear winning conditions. So like, you know what you need to do, you do it, you get your immediate reward, and it feels good. You get that immediate feedback back. The real world is not like that. You might write a great paper and still not get a good grade on it. You might put all this effort in and still have bad stuff happen to you. That's, you know, what's the old quote from Star Trek? You can do everything right and still lose. That's the world. That's how it is in the real world. And so the idea that you're going to compare it to a game, it's like the whole point of the game is that it isn't the real world, and the win conditions in the game are easily defined and achieved. And that's part of the issue, is that the real world's a lot messier. Lumen says, I agree up to a point, but also not matter what the teacher says. If they're on the phones not listening, it doesn't matter what the teacher says. Yeah, you have to get the kids to pay attention. And again, with the structure of rewards in society today, listening to your teacher about some reward that you might get in 15, 20 years is not going to be the same as learning how to do a TikTok dance, get 100,000 views, and get 20 grand in your account or something. Like with having a, blow up on social media. And he says, I think the point is that not if they can't do it, it's that they're not being pushed in ways that actually teach the harder concepts and thinking stuff. Yeah, and I mean, that gets into why are we not doing that, and that gets into the whole educational structure, which is, worse. So it just says, serialized television solves the problem of episodes in 40 minutes. Yeah. I mean, we have classes, and they go on, but, like, not all TV shows have overarching stories. Some are just self-contained, and you get that feedback immediately. I didn't like TV shows that I had to remember what the fuck happened last week. I like TV shows that I'd watched and they were good. I used to watch X-Files religiously, and then they had these overarching conspiracies that were lasting over the whole season. I'm like, I don't give a shit. I just want there to be some fucking aliens. Give me some aliens or some boogeymen or something. And I liked those episodes way more than I liked the ones where where they were interacting with some huge government conspiracy. I didn't like that. Tablets, that's the whole point, is that we've all got phones now, and they're vying for our attention. As I said earlier, that's how modern information technologies work, is they keep your attention on them. Seems like this very quote from Warhammer 40k's Emperor, that sometimes the only victory available is to deny your opponent a victory, and that hit me pretty seriously, but as a kid I would never have understood it. Yeah. Going back to books and paper, writing, handwork. Meanwhile, I love the deeper shows, the longer plots. Yeah, I mean, everybody's different. It's but I think Shane said he's going back to books and stuff. Everything's on paper again. Babylon 5? No, I don't remember Babylon 5 well enough. That was Picard, the quote from. Doug says, Gen X grew up playing games with no end condition. Just keep adding quarters into machine you fail. May have fucked us up in the opposite way. Yeah, that was also part of the original, the beginning of video games was the quarter, the slot. They're basically slot machines where you're putting money in to try to get better outcomes and stuff like that. And so that was a different sort of ramp up. And so that's always a very interesting thing. It was DS9? Okay. All right. Black Mirror is good for self-contained episodes. Yeah, I should always watch that, but I don't. All right. Anyway, back to paper. If in mainstream media this partisanship is already apparent, imagine how magnified this phenomenon becomes when it's situated within the context of limitless information accumulation paired with the establishment of seamless online connections. Following Jameson and Capella, what Nguyen articulates in relation to existing echo chambers is evident all the more within the range of the internet that now encompasses and even surpasses the scope of mainstream media. Yeah, it's true. Once you get into your little Facebook groups, that keeps you there, and you don't get out of that, and it's more tailored to you. That's right. From the previously expensive and laborious process of accessing and disseminating information and points of view through the media, from newspapers to radio and television broadcasts, the internet opened a more effective and accessible space for anyone who has the means for it. Not only is this access easy and immediate, it is also wide-ranging and varied to the point of being overwhelming. Maddie says, I have a distant, much older family relative who spent so much time playing Pac-Man that the parents actually bought him a flat-top Pac-Man game machine. Yeah, he just got so good he could play it until basically ran out of change. You just have to quit. Yeah, I mean, people play Tetris. Blue Scooty recently beat Nintendo Tetris because he played it so long and so well that he was able to get an actual overflow in the memory of the Tetris, where it's like you got so many points that the memory overflowed. And so the Nintendo Tetris actually crashed. And I was in, he was streaming on Twitch, and I was in the chat. And I think because he was young, he probably wasn't supposed to be streaming. But like if you get an original video, you'll see my GG fly by in the chat. And those machines were crazy pricey too. They're still expensive. They're not that cheap. Like arcade boxes are not cheap things. Those Pac-Man machines are now worth a lot. Oh, if you have an original, yeah, that's big money. That's absolutely right. Just making a replica one is going to be expensive. I mean, I had a Pi with a setup of a Retro Pi arcade on there. It's fun. I want to get back to doing stuff like that. I just haven't had the time or the brain space. Okay, compared to the other forms of media, the internet provides an unprecedented assortment of information on almost anything. Faced with this opportunity to rummage through all available information, it becomes important to ponder what people look for when accessing the internet. Yeah, why the fuck are you here watching my stream, people? What are you looking for? Why are you here? Dover says it was already overflowing when it crashed a weird screen artifact. Yeah, exactly. Things start to break down. But like the game still worked, but like, yeah. Like it's crazy stuff. Glitch art style. Yeah, what's it called? The colors glitch out first, and then other starts looking weird, and numbers are wrong or whatever. But like, yeah. Okay. What kind of information do people look for on the internet? What kind of information are people keen on putting on the internet? Among myriads of possible answers, two possibilities stand out. More commonly assumed on the one hand is that people go to the internet to acquaint themselves with a wide range of information that corresponds to the inquiries that they raise in their daily routine. From recipes to explore to important local news and relevant global trends, the internet serves for many the purpose of satiating the desire to know more. On the other hand, despite the availability of plentiful options, people can decide to go to the internet to either confirm what they already believe in or just enjoy specific content that they deliberately identify and separate from others. I mean, yeah, go play some video games online. It's fun. At first, there is nothing problematic in either account since both manifest the simple intent to obtain information from sources other than one's own. What is alarming is when people become so engrossed by the information they come across online to the point of being intolerant of views that do not cohere with what they consider acceptable. The fact that this is a commonplace reality is accounted for by the studies on people's tendency to select like-minded views based on source cues, like cues about the scant of the content, itself or it's relevant to their interests. Don't know what the scant of the content itself means, but I get the point. Like, they've seen so much of one thing, they can't be like, how could you believe something else? Because everything they've seen is on one side, the other side seems insane then. Unacceptable, says Ivan. Exacerbated by algorithms that depend on what one frequently chooses to search, check, and engage, the people's chance to see more and select information to digest apart from what they can already confirm and agree with becomes more limited. This internet mechanism works best in social media, as can be attested to prima facie by its users. Yeah, and that's the whole thing, is that you know that you're being shown, or you should know that you're being shown a curated selection of information that the networks think you want to see, because they want you to be there, and so they show you more of what they think that you want to see, and so that's curated, and it's just how it works. Like, we know that now. The increase in the numbers of content similar to what they choose to engage with reduces content diversity in favor of what is already preferred. Theorists of psychology refer to this phenomena as confirmation bias, and casual routinary scrolling in social media will tell for oneself the degree of this observation's factuality. Once one has sufficient grounding for what has been confirmed, the next step is to disseminate this stance to other people who are more likely to agree with the opinionated belief. The matter of accepting what has been shared may rely on the affirmation of what one agrees with, but this acceptance may also depend on internal motivations. Among such motivations, for instance, are political beliefs that inform what they intend to read, watch, or simply give attention to on social media. Now, this is all sort of background stuff. I wonder when we're getting to the middle of the paper now. I'm like, give me some meat here. Where's your philosophy? This is all like, yeah, we know this stuff. If this is the case, it is not surprising that partisanships, as mentioned above, are among the immediate upshots of selective and preferential social media dissemination. The conglomeration of opinions cohering with one another leads to the reinforcement of the same opinions within a group, eventually moving toward the creation of a polarized perception that defines the direction of the group's subsequent opinions. At this point, the most obvious essential element of an echo chamber stands out. The gathering of opinions for credence within a group corresponds to the core set of beliefs that enlists one to be part of the said group. The other two can be implied, although a concrete demonstration will be more effective in presenting them. Firstly, quote, the disparity in trust between members and non-members, and second, the exclusion and discrediting of non-members alongside the amplification of the members' epistemic credentials. Yeah, this is rehashing the epistemic bubble chamber stuff of Nguyen. Like, I don't think this is just going over what he was saying, because we're still not talking about the public sphere yet, like the social public that Habermas was talking to. So we got to get there though. Social media echo chambers during the 2022 Philippine national elections. Some researchers are keen to suggest that political participation in the Philippines, especially among young people, is, quote, anchored on political socialization in offline and online spaces, end quote. This means that beyond traditional means that require physical conventions that often risk safety and well-being, young people utilized online platforms, especially social media, to advance their political opinions and social commentaries. Oh yeah, what was that country that they had a revolution and basically it was on Discord? Like Discord was picking who was going to run that country? Like, yeah. So that was somewhere in Asia, I believe. Okay, the voicing out of these sentiments online has become the subject of a study that presents young people's behavioral patterns in social media engagement. The study revealed that interactions and information dissemination have been concentrated mostly into 8 significant communities that are tightly knit. Bangladesh, thank you, DeMarshall. The study is inconclusive on whether these online communities are exclusively tied to specific keywords that hint at their possible political preference, but it does present us with the common words that arise from the online public conversations of these communities. Some of these words can be highlighted to suggest group preference, so never again, Marcos, Lenny, martial law, and troll, among others. Not much analysis can be poured over these words alone, yet anyone who has been familiar with how the election discussions online went can immediately affirm that they are loaded with meaning that align with a party's interests. For example, Marcos and Lenny refer to the 2 most popular presidential candidates, so it is not presumptuous to claim that they designate 2 opposing parties online. The other terms like martial law and never again are interrelated and are also associable with either of the candidate parties, whether the terms be agreed with or opposed. The term troll has been thrown around so much by both parties in order to discredit the opposing narrative in favor of one's own, thus intensifying the already existing polarization. They are not explicitly given, but the elements of exclusion and discrediting are evident in this situational demonstration. The online user's choice to only express and share opinions and views that correspond to their party's ideals is already suggestive of the distrust for other narratives and the bolstering of the narrative believed, which then indicates one's epistemic credentials. Likewise, the willingness to tag as trolls those with whose views they disagree, seeing them as belonging to a party that must be repudiated, is also an indication of the tendency to discredit which is present in echo chambers. I mean, this is part and parcel. You're just calling, you're name calling. And this is name calling on an internet scale. How do you name call on an internet scale and get other people to go along with you? What it is. But I guess there's definitely something to be said for how insults work online as opposed to IRL, or as I like to say, AFK, away from computer, not necessarily IRL, but yeah, away from keyboard. I guess AFK lost out because no one's really using keyboards anymore. Everyone's on their phone, even though there is a keyboard on the phone. There's no actual keys or a board. Am I old? No, it's the kids who are wrong. The internet as a public sphere. Okay, now we're getting somewhere, finally. Two things are now clear. Firstly, that the internet facilitates access to and dissemination of all kinds of information and opinions. And secondly, that within the internet exist echo chambers that patronize selective and exhaustive and exclusive online communication and information sharing in favor of their members and to the discredit of non-members. The concern that remains to be addressed is whether the existence of echo chambers concords with the nature of the internet itself. Simply put, if echo chambers should exist on the internet. Okay, so finally, this is the whole... this is everything I've been waiting for. Oopsie, wrong button. The whole thing is right here. Is it good or bad that echo chambers exist within the internet the way they do? To propose this inquiry as a matter of debate, a defined interpretation of the internet must be presented. One such interpretation sees the internet as a public sphere, and as mentioned previously, attempts to do so have already been made. Discounting the interpretation of the public sphere that limits it to the 18th century England, it is obvious that the idea of the public sphere, which precisely involves information and opinion dissemination, suggests its presence on the internet. A more important claim must be taken into account. The public sphere is not merely a constituent of the internet, but its essential characteristic insofar as a communication and discussion of information are concerned. Okay, so they're basically saying we're defining the internet as a public sphere. Who knows? What makes the internet a public sphere then? What characteristics inherent in the public sphere are essential to it? The repetition of opinion dissemination as one of the main activities within the internet is a telltale sign of its necessity to the latter, but even Habermas acknowledges the difficulty of circumscribing the internet's impact on it, specifically of social media. What makes this complicated is that much of the exchanges that take place on the internet are due to the commercial exploitation of the currently virtually unregulated internet communication. This means that given an extrinsic motivation that is different from the fundamental intentions of expressing and communicating, like the bolstering of a social media traffic, the activity simply becomes a facade for ulterior motives. Perhaps there is more behind opinion dissemination, something more profound that transforms the internet into a public sphere. Ra thought the internet was a bunch of tubes. It is also a bunch of tubes, Ra. But that's more of how it works, not what it's doing. So you've got the how, not the what. I guess this is the question here, is that because social media exists to keep people on it and make money, that the engagement there has ulterior motives. Like the engagement in social media is not only for the engagement's sake, not for the content of the engagement, but for engagement's sake in itself. That's it. No one can define the internet. Yeah, well, that's like saying, can we define human society at the moment? No, we cannot define human society at the moment, but we can talk about it, But like I was saying, these are simplifications we make on all aspects of life. You want to do science, you're going to be making simplifications. You're working with models about how the world is. Same thing here. This is talking about social interactions online. We're going to simplify that so we can talk about it. Tube, sphere, right. Exactly right. One approach is to distinguish between the senses of the internet as both a public space and a public sphere. Concerning the former, the internet is a medium for discussions of any kind. Yeah, so as a space, it's a medium for internet for discussions of any kind. In this sense, the kinds of information that can be shared and the means to share them, even if they tend to be authoritative and restrictive, are not given much attention. This means that the choice of being excluded is also available aside from the default situation that normally allows discourses. When it comes to the latter, the internet becomes an avenue for discussions that promote a democratic exchange of ideas and opinions more than anything else. So that's the old ideal sort of thing. It is not enough then for the internet to just be conducive for opinions and information exchange and dissemination. More than this, it requires the democratic quality that ignores divisions among the participants within the public spheres on the internet and social media and turns them into potential participants in numerous public interactions and debates. Therefore, for the internet to be democratic is for it to facilitate the proliferation of democratic expressions. Anyone can share perspectives and everyone can be part of social political discourses. To be democratic in this regard is to form and share opinions with an open and inclusive network of overlapping subcultural publics having fluid temporal, social, and substantive boundaries in a manner independent of decision-making bodies like the government. All these considered, the internet is a public sphere, simply put, if it has an inclusive character conducive to the formation, exchange, and dissemination of opinions. Okay. The public sphere as the antithesis of echo chambers. Based on what we have so far, implicit interrelated concepts arise in relation to the idea of the internet as a public sphere, democracy, and inclusivity. The question remains on whether echo chambers should be on the internet, which is a public sphere, and a potential answer to this comes from contrasting the essential traits of an echo chamber with the aforementioned characteristic of the internet as a public sphere. Recall that Nguyen's propositional description of an echo chamber is that it creates a significant disparity in trust between members and non-members, and that this disparity in trust is exemplified in the ways demonstrated in the 2022 national election situation, discrediting non-members and excluding them on account of difference and non-adherence to certain opinions and beliefs. A counter proposition can be stated in this form. By virtue of the internet being a public sphere, an epistemic community that centralizes discrediting and exclusion based on opinions and beliefs held exist antithetically within a space that promotes democracy in expression and inclusivity. Habermas' question can serve as an initial guide that tests whether an online community can appropriately find its place on the internet. And there's a quote, it looks like. Our question is rather whether, through the changed mode of use, these social media platforms also prompt a kind of exchange about implicitly or explicitly political views that could influence the perception of the political public sphere as such. I guess that's a quote from Habermas. It seems at first that the question could be read in a way that particularizes discussions limited to politics, but once one realizes that echo chambers are created for political related reasons, as demonstrated, then the question becomes an appropriate retort to the continuous proliferation of echo chambers on the internet. Dogan says, I don't mind naivete, but facile naivete is unseemly in an academic paper. Yeah, I mean, this is coming at like the thing and saying, well, hey, the internet's supposed to be democratic, and that's not what's happening right here. I'm hoping, and I feel your pain there, because I'm like, yeah, so what? Like, we know people had that vision for the internet back in the day that, oh, everyone will talk and we'll all get along and we'll figure stuff out because we can talk to each other with like a lot easier now. But that's not what happened. And so the idea that like we're going to go back to that old thought at the beginning of the internet of like this like great democratic thing, it's like that does seem terribly naive, doesn't it, Dojo? I'm hoping they're just setting the stage here for making just be like, and Habermas knew what was right, or Habermas has a point on this, but I fear that we're not going to get any such thing. Silver, what's up? Money got involved. Exactly. And the problem here is if this paper just ends up saying that stuff, that's not a new thought. Now, if they're relating it to Habermas, I guess that's kind of nice, but again, this is, did that really need to be said? Okay, continuing. Since it is outright exclusion that the public sphere repels, echo chambers may then present themselves as excluding as a form of self-defense from contrary opinions and beliefs that they consider to be detrimental. Nguyen refers to this as disagreement reinforced mechanism, disagreement reinforced mechanism, and it could be easily utilized to mask the dismissive tendencies of echo chambers behind the pretension of disagreeing with the claim deemed false, even without the instrumentation of argumentative discourse. Yeah, I mean, you can just be like, oh yeah, we're listening to them, but you don't actually believe them. Sure. It is even possible for such echo chambers to present themselves as public spheres, if only to merit their capacity to defend their beliefs. Yeah, people bullshit that they're like, oh yeah, we're open and inclusive, and then you get there and they're just not. Hello, how is it? It's okay. I'm getting over a cold. I'm feeling okay. But, life is life at the moment, and it's lifing. Lumen says, I think Habermas was mostly focused historically, so I think comparing it to social media is the author's intervention. Okay, so if that is new, that's cool. But again, this is not, it just doesn't feel that clever. It's like, oh yeah, and Habermas talked about public spheres, and the internet is public. It's like, sure, cool. But how much new is being added? But to be fair, I don't know the Habermas scholarship, so maybe this is important for them, but it just doesn't seem very interesting otherwise. Doug says, if you search trans women on Facebook, you will not get support or positive results. You will only get the worst folks in the community, and dads block people from bathrooms. The search results are biased in the worst way. Yeah, Lumen says, it doesn't seem very groundbreaking. Yeah, and that's the issue, is the rage on the internet is what sells more than the actual discussion. And so that's just how it is, and I suspect that's how it's been for a long time, actually. I don't know if any of you are old enough to remember old 4chan. I'm old enough to remember old 4chan. And the way 4chan worked, and it still works this way, it didn't have upvotes and downvotes, likes, dislikes, like all the social media sites do now. It only had people engaging with threads. And so you weren't voting on stuff, you were responding to it or doing something with it. And that's how things stayed on the top of 4chan, on the front page of it. And what that ended up doing was, since the votes, there was no recorded votes, to keep things going, you needed to constantly be getting new emotions and people engaged with things constantly as it goes. So you need, not only for the original post to gain a lot of traction, but the commentary and everything else had to continue with that, continually bringing more and more engagement. And this turned into rage baiting, because that was what would keep people on, that keeping threads alive would keep people getting more and more angry as they got through the thread. And so it's it's not democratic stuff that keeps people engaged online. 4chan was the originator of showing how this worked. Depends on old 4chan is, yeah. DeMarshall says, was he considered the last of the German professor in the USA after the war? I don't know about the history here, DeMarshall. Remember if you mean 2008-ish. Yeah. I think even by then, Moot maybe had already sold it or changed it. I'm talking about, maybe around then, actually. Yeah, maybe around then, or just before. Yeah. Oh, Frankfurt School. Okay, yeah. See, I don't know enough about that. Drama farming. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. I've not heard that term before, Dojo. But, that's exactly what it is. And so the idea that you're even going to get a discussion really depends on the sort of way the discussion is formatted. I mean, when you have the upvotes and downvotes, you have records that stay there, and somehow that the upvoting gets attached to that content, and that creates a certain kind of metric. But when you have to drama farm in a different sort of situation, you're getting a very different content out of it. It's just the way it works. And it's yeah. Okay. Against this, it can be opined through Habermas that even if these communities be given the designation public sphere, or at least semi-public sphere due to their obvious limitations, their perspectives would still be affronts to the legitimate democratic sphere, which prizes overall, quote, an inclusive space for possible discursive clarification of the competing claims to truth and a general equal consideration of interests. Yeah, and I think this is the entire point of this paper is just saying that Habermas has a criticism of modern social media. Okay, good. Author says, therefore, let it be the case that, for as long as inclusion is not a trait that can be associated with a community that has a claim for the preferability of a particular belief and opinions, even without the opportunity to justify and defend such a claim in the face of opposing per views, then it should not be constituting the spaces of the internet as public spheres. This precisely is what makes echo chambers antithetical to the very locus within which they operate, and vice versa. Yeah, this feels very much like, righteous rage. You've perverted Habermas's genius thought, and you're claiming to be public spheres, and you're the entirely opposite thing. It's like, yeah, you've perverted the Habermas. It's like, okay, settle down there, author. Douglas says, I just made up drama farming. It really wasn't always full rage baiting. It was often people who were already familiar with each other, arguing in familiar ways. So baiting when you know what you're getting into seems off. Yeah, that's fair. But the rage stuff is like, yeah, you can have discussions on 4chan, fine, like it's just a forum, but like the sort of the insanity that came out of there and like what we have now was special because of the way I feel it was set up. I was not, and don't take my word for this, I read something on this, and this is why they think it works this way. So like, yeah, but I get the point, is that you need the engagement to keep things fresh and like available to the public. And as soon as people stop engaging, it drops off. But like, that's the point. And if you're also doing it because you know the community and you're discussing, that also will be getting into regular patterns of like discussion, which again is not the idea of democratic discussion. That's getting into some sort of just pattern. Adam says, earlier, your philosophical question and its implications, whether scientific models have full closure on objects, is an epistemic issue. Yet firstly, the question is what there is. What ontological commitments should we have? Which domains of truth to have? Quine didn't offer one, but initially favored a sparse domain. Physicalism later allowed logical proofs. So what domains of discourse, ethical, mathematical, physical, metaphysical, logical, to support communities are exclude? Yeah, but I was saying you can't reduce everything to math. That was the only claim I was making earlier. I wasn't saying I wasn't making a big claim. I was saying, if you can't like reduce everything to math, I was saying you can't poke a number. I mean, granted, you can go on Sesame Street and poke one of those numbers, but like that's not the idea or form of a number. But it's like, yeah, I take the point, but what I was talking about at that time was kind of narrow. I was just saying you can't reduce like math to physics to math. I mean, maybe in some metaphysics you can, but it's going to be very unusual. Sam says, fishermen know that they are baiting the fish when they bait the hook. Yeah. Doe says, it was often rage baiting, but I was on there, and it wasn't quite the same as current rage baiting. Oh, yeah. I didn't want to make the claim that 20 years ago 4chan is the same as the internet now. Very different. But, like, that was one of the original models of rage baiting. Yeah. Unless I was applying fishing metaphor for one, rage baiting wasn't for profit. Yeah. Well, it kind of was. One of the things about this is the righteous indignation is very powerful. It's one of these modern things that is very useless. People like to feel that they're right, and they're angry at the right people, and they're doing it for the right reasons, and it's crap, because feeling good about yourself that like those people are stupid is not very useful. It's just making yourself feel better. So it's not for profit, Sam, but it is for sort of like your mental masturbatory feeling. You feel good about yourself for having done nothing and just being on the right side of a debate. But like, that's the whole point. You're feeling good for nothing just because you happen to be in the right side of the debate, but that's what the echo chamber is creating. Adam says, Quine ontology was a relativist. He suggested that different ontologies can be equally valid under certain conditions. Thinking on what there is, it can depend on theoretical frameworks being used. Quine argued that our understanding of existence is shaped by our scientific theories and language used to describe them. Only math you think is not enough for your ontology. No, and you're not going to reduce everything to math. Like, I know there's people who disagree with me, but like, there's no way in hell we're reducing everything to math. I just can't see how we're going to do it. Like, yeah. Doug said, I am never engaged in 4chan. I was more of a dig.com. Yeah, I was on Dig and I was on Reddit. And I was on 4chan just a teeny little bit. Really wasn't. Barrett, yeah, I've been sick. I'm doing all right. Yeah, I'm getting over my cold. You're at like reduced power. You feel like you're at like 70% capabilities, but I'm feeling a bit better. How you been? We're reading on a paper here who's trying to relate modern internet stuff using the C.T. Nguyen theories and relating it back to Habermas. Trying to use Habermas as a criticism of the way people discuss the internet now. It is very mediocre. This is not very exciting stuff. It's just being like, rah, rah, Habermas, and not adding a lot less. You're less than 5,000. You're about 3,000. Damn. Oh, boy. Oh, Baraday's getting there. I rewrote a paper and sent it back off yesterday. I'm very pleased that I sent it off and I'm done with it for a minute. But anyway, congratulations, Baraday, getting that done. Anywho's. Finishing up this paper, recapitulation. This attempt to discuss echo chambers within the context of the internet as a public sphere reveals some points of contradiction between their essential characteristics, namely exclusion and democratic inclusion. Due to their selective information dissemination, priority for their similarly held opinions and beliefs to the discredit and exclusion of virtually every other opinion, echo chambers stand in stark contrast to the inclusive and democratic nature of the internet, which is particularly seen as a public sphere. Baraday said, I should be done this week. Fingers crossed. My supervisor sorting out assessors as we chat. Nice. Nice. Real good. Real good. Rah, rah, Habermas? Yeah, exactly. I mean, we can finish this up and then we can say how we feel about this. The 2022 Philippine national elections serve as a pertinent example where the prioritization of partisan narratives and the labeling of dissenting views as trolls underscore the exclusionary nature of echo chambers, contrary to the public sphere's nature of inclusivity and discourse. Habermas puts it succinctly. Succinctly. Insofar as this leads to the formation of self-supporting echo chambers, these bubbles differ from the fundamentally inclusive character of the public sphere through their rejection of dissonant and the inclusion of consonant voices to their own limited identity preserving horizon of supposed yet professionally unfiltered knowledge. End quote. Therefore, while the internet facilitates almost unlimited access to information and allows diverse perspectives to prosper and intermingle, its potential as a public sphere stems from its capacity to go beyond echo chambers. This is true for as long as it holds on to principles of democratic exchange, where all voices are heard and discoursed rationally, and where threats of exclusion and discrediting are addressed. Okay, let me drop the volume a little bit. Too loud. Sorry. Yeah. So that is it. Now we get to review the paper. How did it go? Yeah. So I'm with you, Dojo. In the end, it's like, okay, echo chamber is bad, free discussion good, and as was pointed out, that Habermas gives a way of saying why exactly it was bad is a good thing. But, how much is really said there? Like, did we need the Habermasian perspective? How much did it add to the discussion? Or whatever. Oh, anyway, if you're in chat, feel free to use some of the better TTV emotes. They're available to everyone. You need a plugin. If you can't see them on your screen, you can see them below. But if you thought it was fun, gave you some fun ideas, give it a brain dance. If you had some existential artistic drama, give it a Nog Scream. A Nog Oro and Ouroboros for deep ancient ideas. Nog Knife for slicing and dicing arguments. Nog Navel gazing only for other academics. Nog Turd for all style, no substance, still poop underneath. And Nog Grapes for big claims that shrivel up. You can also use the global vote yay and vote nay of Twitch and my vote meh. Note I calculate an overall score. Anything in the green goes up. Anything in the red makes the score go down. The vote meh actually makes it go to the middle. So Raw gave it a meh and grapes. DeMarshall knife. Luminous a meh. Energy gave it a knife. Navel gazing yay meh. Yeah, I mean, this was not the worst paper in the world, but I just feel kind of grapesy about it. That they kind of said, oh, we're going to have some sort of a Habermasian take on this. It's like, yeah, you did that, but in the end, it was just kind of weak. Have you ever had the author of this paper see you read and come to you about it? So, Sam, I used to email all the authors when their video went live. So I used to just upload everything to YouTube immediately back in the day, and I'd email the authors. And I've had people watch the videos and give me feedback on what they thought about my review. I've had people be angry with me. Granted, their paper on panpsychism was god awful terrible, and they should feel bad. And they were like, I was sitting there drinking a beer. I was like, drink, drink, drink. Oh God. And they were angry with me. I was like, and so they sent me like they said, oh, this, and this. And I sent them an email back, like I explained why those were all bullshit. And I was like, yeah, if you want to get back to me, get back to me. But this is all nonsense. And they never got back to me. I've had people also say, yeah, you're right. Like, I didn't do that section very well. That part was rushed and I had to get the paper out. And I agree that that part was bad. Like, I criticized one part of their paper. I said, like, the rest of this was okay, but this one part was bad. And they were like, yeah, that's right. It was bad. I've had one person say to me, I'm going to use your video to show my students how to read philosophy. That was a good paper. And I was explaining what was good and bad about it. And they were like, this is the best I've ever seen anyone do it. I was like, oh, thank you. Oh, yeah. It wasn't Goff, was it? No. This was some people who were theorizing something in physics was a plane of panpsychic thought. So, yeah. Douglas says, I think this paper could have been improved by a little research or a reference to research regarding how democracy of the internet has been compromised. Yeah, so they didn't talk about any of that, and that's a great point, Dojo. Like, the stuff we were talking about in chat, this didn't even mention it. What the fuck? Why not? There's a lot of commentary on these ideas already just down philosophy. Yeah, and the philosophers aren't this dumb. They should know about this. It was cool. Yeah, very cool. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, this did present some arguments, but, like, it's just not that. Like, it just didn't have a whole lot of content. So, yeah, I'm just going to have to give it some grapes, because it was making claims about, like, oh, we're going to give a Habermasian take on this. And, yeah, it was, but it was the weakest sort of thing. It was just like, okay, this definition disagrees with the way the world is. Granted, they did go read the CT Win stuff. I like that. So they're gonna get a Nog knife. But like, yeah, I don't hate the paper, but it was appropriately short. Yeah, but it's just like it didn't make much of a claim either, though. It's like I feel like as short as it was, it could have been half of this. Granted, I'm not like angry with it. It's like I'm gonna give it a vote meh. It's not like just inherently bad. Just yeah. It's just very meh. Luminance gave it a navel gaze. Yeah, I can see that. If anyone else wants to get your review in, now's the time. But then I'll go drop you guys off. And I'll get out of here early before I overstress. Adam says, you agree with me? Specifying what domains are distinct, which overlap, which include, exclude, perhaps a domain about the truths which get excluded, but incoherent against an overlapping domain of physicalism. And there's no which is according to materialism, but ethical reasons for may include irreducible norms which can coexist with the domain of wishes and physicalism. Yeah, like that's the issue. We want to be like not endorsing magical things in the world, you know, Adam, and thank you for the review, the navel gazing. We don't want to be endorsing like ridiculous magical stuff because it's silly. That said, we have a lot of good reasons for some theories and a lot of good reasons for other theories, and they don't all line up. And that's the hard part, is like, well, why is one theory good and then disagreeing with this other theory, which we also think is good? Lumen says, I don't think it was bad. It was the most strongly meh I felt about any of the roulettes so far, probably. Yeah, and that's how it is. It was just not a whole lot happened. It wasn't like this author was bad. It was just like not a lot happened here. And they needed to, you know, you need something a little bit more if to gain, you know, you just need more as far as philosophy goes. Otherwise, you're just not saying much. Like, are you wasting my time? A little bit. Like, as Dojo was saying, a lot of this stuff has already been said. So it's like, I felt like this is, granted, we're internet people here. We think about this stuff. Maybe this would have been better if you're targeting like a different crowd. But as far as like someone like me, I'm just like, yeah, like I knew all of that. I didn't know Habermas had definitions here. It's like, okay, so do something, take the next step. What do you do now that you have the Habermasian perspective? What ways forward would a Habermasian take it? Like, tell me something to do about it, not just that it's bad. Like, okay, we knew it was bad. Habermas can say it's bad. Okay, what do we do about it? That would have been nice.